Tell me in words full of wonder how rolled the sea, tossing the boat in a tempest on Galilee. Jesus then doing his Father's will, ended the storm, saying, peace, peace, be still.
Tell me the stories of Jesus. What's your favourite one? What sums it all up for you? What's the story that speaks to you most? I asked if there was only one story you could have about Jesus, what would it be? At the time of recording this, I've had 2 replies. One was Martha and Mary and Jesus' encounter with them, and the other was the pearl of great price. I've asked myself that same question. I like doing services where we read lots from the Bible. But today, if there was only one story, what's that to be?
The first reading is from Luke 19, verse 1 to 10. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. He wanted to see who Jesus was, but because he was short, he could not see over the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree to see him, since Jesus was coming that way. When Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today. So he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. All the people saw this and began to mutter, he has gone to be the guest of a sinner. But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, Look, Lord, here and now I give half of my possession to the poor, and if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount. Jesus said to him, Today salvation has come to this house, because this man, too, is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost.
Yes, I went for Zacchaeus, which is why I'm recording today at a tree that seemed such an important part of the story. It's a lovely story. It speaks to all ages. Perhaps I like it because I'm quite small. I use it a lot in school. By the time that I've explained the difference between taxis and taxes, and also why everyone hated Zacchaeus, then we're flying. It's funny, it's dramatic, and has a lovely twist to it. Can you imagine if Jesus was to come to Invergowrie and we'd all be out lining the streets for him to pass through? We know he's due to visit someone's house here. So who would that be? I don't know yet who that should be in this place, but I'm sure we could come up with some contenders. Someone really important who gets things done in the village, or the oldest resident, or someone who's been through a tough time recently and's coming through. Someone who does lots for other people, but very quietly. You know the sort of thing. That's who we might choose. And then just as everyone is cheering for Jesus, he stops and invites himself, and this is the only visit that he's making, to the house of someone nobody likes. The person who's a known swindler, who's only out for themselves and to take what they can get. I'm sure there's nobody like that in this village, but you know what I mean. And then the whole atmosphere changes. First it goes quiet, when it sinks in what Jesus is really saying. Then someone starts to boo, and the mood becomes really ugly. People are disappointed in Jesus. Is that the best that he can do? They feel they've been mistaken in him. And maybe they have been. Maybe he's not the way they thought at all. Maybe it's not all nice and warm and fuzzy. But Jesus knows exactly what he's doing. Zacchaeus has no friends. That's how he didn't find out to the last minute that Jesus was coming. And no one in the crowd would let him through. Everyone hating Zacchaeus didn't do him the slightest bit of good. It changed nothing. So Jesus goes to his house. Now, if you're like me and songs are suggestive, then you've probably had the words for Zacchaeus was a very little man going round in your head for these last few minutes. And especially, now Zacchaeus, you come down, because I'm coming to your house for a tree. Down the tree. But what was going on in Zacchaeus' head? Why did Jesus want to go into his house? What would Jesus say to Zacchaeus? He was probably going to give him a massive row, Zacchaeus thought. But at least it didn't look as if it was going to happen in public. But Jesus doesn't do that. He goes to Zacchaeus' house, eats with him, enjoys his hospitality. And then Zacchaeus bursts out with his own conversation. He doesn't want to live that way anymore. He's going to change because he's met Jesus, become a friend of Jesus, and he simply cannot remain the same. That's why, of all the different stories of Jesus, I plumped for this one. Jesus does the unexpected. Jesus breaks the norms and steps over boundaries, even if lots of people don't like it. Jesus comes into our lives and we can no longer be the same. And what's more, it has a happy ending. At least I assume it does. Of course, we don't actually know what happened after Jesus had gone. We never hear of Zacchaeus again. And it's only Luke who records this story in his gospel. Yet I can't believe that it would be there if Zacchaeus didn't carry out his promises and become a useful part of the community. Did Luke maybe come across him some way? Or someone Luke knew? We don't know. But it's a wonderful story of Jesus that's as real now as it ever was. And one that should come with a health warning. Don't let Jesus in unless you want your life turned upside down. But a further warning too, the new is infinitely better than the old, and not just for Zacchaeus. So now, maybe it's Zacchaeus who joins in with the song too.
Into the city I follow the children's band, waving a branch of thy palm tree high in my hand, worshipping Jesus, yes I will sing, loudest hosannas, for he is King. Show me that scene in the garden of bitter pain, and of the cross where my Saviour for me